Growing up in the information age means being familiar with the internet and digital platforms. For digital natives, this means that they can adapt more readily to new and emerging avenues for learning, collaboration, and networking than their predecessors.
Digital natives have information anytime, anywhere, at any cost. The information age has brought hyperconnectivity never seen before. It is up to digital natives to take advantage of this opportunity in the best possible way.
Digital transformation is actually what I think to be the critical enabler for a more productive, inclusive, and a sustainable socio-economic growth catalyst. The digital era is a boom time of opportunities for young people across the region.
One of the main advantages that digital natives have compared to older generation is an entire shift in mindset. Specifically, digital natives display a more globalized approach to thinking, analyzing, and discussing world problems. They are much more embedded within the digital sphere, the digital networks. They are more connected to young people from other countries, other nations, other continents, which makes them much more aware to a different set of problems that they might share or might not.
As a result of increased global connectivity, younger generations tend to be more exposed to different cultures and different ways of working. This leads them to have a more global outlook, especially in their views and their personal beliefs. Take remote working, for example. A decade ago, this would have been unthinkable in Asia. But now, increased connectivity means that young workers are increasingly demanding for remote working options, which translates to a shift in organizational culture across the region. Increased connectivity is therefore both a technical and social enabler in this regard.
Younger generations are distinguishing themselves from earlier generations through their willingness to use the potential of the information age through the knowledge economy. The democratization of access to the information age occurs thanks to access to information and communication products and services.
This is very much important for this generation. At the same time, it is kind of a double-edged sword because being more connected to people around the world, of course, leads to making a comparison. In Italy, we do not have a minimum wage, so that makes people much more aware that something better could happen. In this context is where the old and the new kind of clash, an old mentality of being quiet clashes with the new mentality of being aware and wanting change.
In Brazil, the lack of broad access to technology mainly affects the poorest and rural communities. The biggest barrier to digital inclusion is access to information and communication technologies. It is no use having a democratic and prosperous digital environment without people being able to enter that environment.
In Southeast Asia, the digital divide means that affected young people are unable to tap upon opportunities presented to them by the digital economy or education opportunities such as remote learning. The most obvious barrier to digital inclusion would be the urban-rural divide. For example, young entrepreneurs living in urban areas often have access to better infrastructure, which translates to better connectivity and in turn leads to more positive outcomes.
I like to look at it from an optimistic perspective instead of a half-empty cup. Transformation is basically looking at where are the key strengths. What are we already doing well that we can do better, leveraging digital technologies that I imagine across the divide. And so, in this respect, there are already bright spots that can be scaled within the African region. One, the mobile money revolution, for example, that started in East Africa, currently boasts the world's highest number of accounts at over 300 million. The region also boasts more than 600 active tech hubs. But these digital innovations must have to expand far beyond these islands of success.
Initially, young people are generally well embedded within the digital environment, and there's not many problems related to the availability of physical resources. However, I believe that initially the problem is has more to do with how technology is used. And this is very evident in universities and in general in the education systems. In Italian schools and just overall the education system does not provide free access to just academic journals, just resources, online resources, online books, reports, and so on. And that changes a lot how I believe Italian students also perform in the world of work that is much more globalized and competitive, given that they in fact did not have physical experience in the digital world of information, let's say.
The main skills a digital native must have are interest in taking advantage of the potential of the information age and creativity to use this technological environment to develop their new ideas.
I would say the three most critical skills would be having multidisciplinary thinking, having a global perspective and outlook, and having digital fluency. Various technological and social developments such as COVID, digital platforms, remote working have showed us why we need those three skills. For example, the rise of digital platforms have raised very pertinent questions about algorithmic interpretability, algorithmic fairness, and digital inclusion. Thinking about those issues requires having the skills that I mentioned.